All right, and with that, we're live. Welcome in, guys. Thanks so much for coming. We got lots of AI, so if you're not AI in the chat, just drop where you're from. That's always fun to see where we're all calling in from. But thank you guys so much for coming, and we're gonna give people a couple of minutes here to log in, and we're gonna get right into it. So I'm in Florida, by the way. That's where I'm at. Patrick, where are you in?
Just outside of Philadelphia.
Very cool. Yeah, we got any Philly people in the chat? Angelique, where are you calling in from?
Just north of Denver, Colorado.
Let's go. I love that. Any Denver people out there? I can't see the chat. Can you guys see the chat?
I can.
Okay. Lots of AI responses. No worries, guys. All right. So it's 102, so we're just going to jump into this. So if you didn't know what you signed up for, today we're talking about multi-location marketing playbooks. We're joined by some awesome people that we're going to do introductions here in a second. Why campaign performance lives or dies at the location. If you're here, hopefully you're in franchising. If not, hopefully multi-location. But either way, let's get into it. So today's speakers are going to be Patrick and Angelique and myself. But I'm more of kind of like the host. If you have any questions, me and the team will respond in the chat, and I'm just clicking a button. So Angelique is the VP of Marketing at Handyman Connection, and Patrick, the Senior Director of Franchise Marketing at Zoom Drain Franchise. Um, it, I hope that that was right. That's what was on the thing. Angelique, is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome.
Creator of all things. Yep.
Love that. Patrick, is that about right for you too?
Nailed it. You nailed it. Yep. Thank you.
Let's keep on rolling. So really quick, this afternoon's entertainment session is brought to you by Promo Republic. If you don't know who they are, they're an AI-powered multi-location marketing platform trusted by brands like Empower, Threshold, Curves, Expedia Cruises, and more. Yes, they did pay me to say that, and with that out of the way, we're just going to keep on rolling here. If this is your first time at a CMO Peer Talks community event, please scan this QR code, stay in touch so you don't miss out on any sauce, as I like to call it. At future events, we also do in-person events around IFA, and we usually give out the best swag, period. So check us out, scan the QR code, take a picture of these roundtable agenda questions if you want to stay ahead of the curve. But with that said, we're jumping right in here. First questions for you, Angelique. Oh, actually, this is for you guys. Drop a word in the chat. How do multi-location campaigns feel at your brand right now? Are they feeling overwhelming? Does it feel like corporate is just handling everything and it's not really a two-way street? How's that feeling for you guys in just one word? And if you don't want to, don't feel like you have to. So, Angelique, how much should HQ own of local marketing versus the franchisee? And has that line moved in the last couple of years? Out of tune. I love that.
Absolutely. It definitely has changed over the last couple of years, especially with the advancements of AI. I think it's not really a fair question, though, to say how much should one own versus the other, because I think it's dependent upon the strategy, right? Strategy and infrastructure should definitely be owned by home office or headquarters, as you listed here. And I would say the how and the execution needs to land at the location level. So 80% should come from home office on the strategy, and 80% of the execution and the how comes from the location. If it's not co-owned, and I don't think it's necessarily a 50-50 split. It's more of who's owning which pieces of the local marketing. Of course, if the owners and the location doesn't have the buy-in, you're never going to get to the end result, right? Which is the marketing execution piece. So I would say 80% of the infrastructure and strategy goes to headquarters, and 80% of the local relationships and execution goes to the local office. Final
Love
answer.
that. Patrick, do you got an opposing opinion? How do you guys handle it there at Drain?
No, I don't have an opposing opinion. I agree. It's hard to put an actual percentage on it. In over 10 years working for a marketing team or a franchisor in two very different industries, I've seen the pendulum sway back and forth as far as, what is the franchisor going to do for the franchisees and that level of support and execution, right? There are times where the organization wants to do everything and as much as possible. And then you realize, no, we have to kind of teach them how to fish and let them go out on their own. And it sways back and forth and really depends on the leadership team at the organization. Where we're at right now with Zoom Drain, and I think with home service, for HQ, we need to own the things that benefit from scale, consistency, and expertise. And I think the franchisees should own the things that benefit from local knowledge, relationships, and really just kind of the hustle of it. So my job, and I say this anytime we onboard a new location, is to provide the tools, training, and support for you to become the CMO of your local Zoom Drain. And we're here to support you all the way through, but you're responsible for execution. We try to make it as turnkey as possible. We protect the brand, growing the brand, maintaining the marketing infrastructure, the tech stack, giving the franchisees the tools, training, and support, like I said, that they need. But they have to activate it. They have to activate it. And that's not just turning on marketing campaigns. That's business development. That's professional networking. That's community engagement. All of the above really falls on the owners to execute locally. We're here to help drive strategy and help them measure the success and make adjustments.
So do you feel like that 80-20 split that Angelique was talking, is that pretty like spot on the money there?
I think it depends on the location and their goals.
Yeah.
It's hard to give an actual percentage.
Yeah, I love that. And that, I feel like that's the answer for so much stuff is, it depends, right? But I do also like to kind of give people like, like a percentage to think about. Let's roll right into the next one here. So this question says, how do you make centralized content feel effortless to receive rather than one more thing landing in someone's inbox? Angelique.
Yeah, so I think for us, when we're talking about centralized content, because we get a lot of gripes from franchisees, right? This feels so corporate-y, or it doesn't come from my local office, right? So again, reminding them, and some of what we've done here locally is using Canva to build out like a brand template and allowing our franchisees the freedom and flexibility to work within the brand guidelines, and not necessarily look at them as constraints, but more of a structured format for how they can localize that content and really drive it home as to what's important and what's meaningful to their customers and their market. So I think the biggest thing is empowering them, allowing them to have access to the content, showing them what we're building from a base perspective, but allowing them the freedom and flexibility to customize it and make it local for them. So I think less is more. We actually leverage a shared drive, and everybody gets pinged when new location content gets added so that they know it's there, but we're not necessarily sending it out in droves to them. So they have the ability to leverage it. We're referencing it on our marketing calls and reminding them that we have this collateral bank that's at their disposal. They don't have to recreate or reinvent the wheel. So I think the biggest thing is making it a partnership. It's not us forcing them to use specific brand level creative, but giving them the templates and the tools to customize and make it local.
Love that, Angelique. Patrick.
I would echo all of that. A few things I would add. As far as getting it in front of the franchise owners and their teams to make it feel effortless. First thing, consistent, streamlined communication. They need to know when things are made available to them, whether it's an update or a brand new resource. We send out one weekly email, and then for those who don't open the email, they get a follow-up reminder with anywhere from 3 to 10 things max that they need to know this week. It's not limited to marketing, but it's usually a big chunk of it. So that way they know where to look every week. They don't have to go searching our intranet. Now on that, you have to have an organized central place to host it all. We have a nice intranet system. Make it easy for the franchise owners. Make it easy for the team. Don't make them guess where things are. We also have Canva enterprise-wide. It's made things a lot easier to find. It's made a lot content a lot easier to generate, to customize locally. And the last piece, AI assistance. We're on Easy Assist, which absorbs our entire Google Drive system-wide. It absorbs our LMS, our YouTube channel, our weekly communication. So the knowledge base is constantly being updated. So if the franchise owners aren't necessarily paying attention to that weekly communication, if they didn't attend the bi-monthly all-hands call where we reinforce the information, if they don't know their way around our intranet system, they can go right to this AI agent and they can ask it for the latest and greatest. And they can use it like a traditional AI platform as well to generate their own content, whether it's a social post or an email, and it kind of leverages all of the knowledge, all of the information we have system-wide. So those are my 3 main points there.
Love it.
I love that. And I'm not picking up on any questions. If anybody has questions about anything that we're talking about, please drop them in on the chat. And if I see them, I'll be sure to ask those for you. With that said, we got a few more to get through. So how do you get a franchisee who doesn't do marketing to want to engage? Patrick, you're smiling like you're like I feel like there's something like that you just want to yell out here. So go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. First of all, we try to set the expectation before a prospective franchisee signs the agreement. This is what you're getting yourself into, and marketing and business development and owning that is part of business ownership. If you want to have a successful business, you're going to have to spend a lot of time and energy with your marketing and your BD and your professional networking. So we try to set that expectation early on. For those that maybe came through during a different period of time, it's just engaging with them. It's checking in on them. It's, we have to continue educating them on why these things are important, how to execute them, what's available to them, because they're busy. Most people join a franchise system because the systems are in place, right? There's a proven model. They join because there is marketing training, marketing assets, marketing support. They're not marketers. Some of them are, but most of them don't. So we have to stay in front of them. But I think that the truth is, if you have somebody who says, I don't do marketing, you're not going to be in business very long if you have that mindset. So it doesn't matter how many phone calls or emails we send to reach out to those who aren't engaged right now, those who aren't proactively marketing or engaging in business development activities. They're not going to make a change until they feel pain. And unfortunately, people have very different levels of pain tolerance. But once they feel the pain, they will engage with us, and we're always here. We're ready to help them. We consult with our owners. We help them build local plans, leveraging all the tools that are in place. We help them kind of monitor and evaluate the impact those plans are making on their business, help them adjust, but they have to cross the finish line.
I like
That was
that, Patrick.
awesome.
And
Go ahead, Angelique.
I would echo that sentiment. We talk about marketing not being money out, but being fuel in, right? So marketing dollars and resources are the fuel that drives the engine that's the business, right? And in order for that business to operate and run, there has to be some fuel. So when we talk about engagement with marketing practices, and I love that you did the air quotes as I don't do marketing, because we have franchisees that say it like that. And in my head, I'm seeing air quotes. The biggest thing for that for us is tying it back to metrics that matter, right? So asking not like, why is it that you're not engaged in marketing, is what is your biggest pain point in your business right now? And inadvertently, through that one question, you're going to have them give you an answer that no doubt is going to tie back to lead generation, revenue. For us, it would be our craftsman roster, not having enough work on the books, and tying that in to showing and showcasing. And we leverage our peer-to-peer data as much as possible in our network, right? Because I'm just a talking head and I'm a know-it-all, right? And I don't really run a business and I don't really know what's happening day to day. But when I can show them that investing or adding fuel to their engine is going to drive metrics that matter, such as revenue, such as bookings, keeping their craftsmen busy, keeping their wallets full, those are fat, I guess I would say. Those are the things that are going to matter most to them and are going to get them to actively engage. And again, showcasing and highlighting success from within the network, right? Here's some of your peers. And a lot of times what we'll do is I'll pull up, we have a results at a glance report called a RAG report. And that RAG report I'll pull up and it'll be a ranking order. And I'll say, what are some things that you notice in here? And I'm like, well, gosh, they have 400 leads this month. How do they have 400 leads? How can they afford that? And tying it back into, it's not all paid, right? It doesn't have to be paid. We talk about marketing being time or resources, right? So you can put in a good mix of the two, and having them understand that it's that mix of the two that really will help drive the activity and get them to where they want to be, so that they're not feeling those external pain points like, slow calendars, low lead volume, and then subsequently low revenue, right? So again, I think the biggest thing is leveraging the peer-to-peer and actual results and tying that into metrics that matter for them, and then looking at it as fuel and not an outgoing cost.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Can I add to that, Matt?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I think if you have a strong culture in your franchise system, it's typically one of the most undersold um, selling points. You know, when people sign in, you talk about the systems that are in place, you talk about the brand, the support. Most people don't talk about the peer-to-peer support enough, and that you have a system filled with other business owners who are sitting in the same chair as you, except they've been through it. Some people have learned the lessons the hard way already, so you don't have to. On that note, when we look at marketing, and going back to what I was saying, a lot of people, they don't have any experience in marketing. It's intimidating and it's overwhelming. And there's so many kind of subcategories within marketing and advertising, business development, and technology. And some people just become so overwhelmed that they just kind of, cover their ears, put their head in the sand. So for us, it's two things. The people who are doing things well, we want to highlight them. And we have a podcast that's called Unclogged, where we'll talk to people in the franchising world, people in the home service space, but we also have an internal feed where we do a franchisee spotlight, an owner spotlight, and we talk about things that are going well for them, things that are working. And I think that storytelling coming from somebody a franchise owner can relate to can be inspirational and motivating, and it gives them somebody to reach out to. Maybe they struggled with building a referral network, but this person's doing it well. So then they'll reach out to them, they'll connect. So I think it's the storytelling piece, but it's also simplifying marketing too. What we realized, I was about 2.5 years in, and it felt really good about all the tools, the templates, the campaigns, the vendors that we set up. And I realized that we had all of these dots that just weren't connecting for many of the franchise owners. So at our last national conference, we focused on building a local marketing plan and simplifying it. We went back to elementary school. And I think you have to meet the owner where they are. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So we do an intake call. I have 10 questions that I ask our franchise owners. It really gives me insight as to what they've tried in the past, what they're doing now, what the ROI looks like, where they are today, where they want to go. And there are usually some really obvious answers that maybe the owner is just too in the weeds to realize. So we write everything down and we look at it, and we come up with no more than 3 SMART goals, and we take it 3 months at a time. And for a lot of the owners, it's one SMART goal. We want them to build a plan that they're actually going to stick with, hit their goal, feel good about it. And then we start layering in more goals and more activities. So I think simplifying marketing, making it less intimidating is a key to get a lot of franchise owners who are new to the whole marketing thing started and feeling good.
100% agree with that sentiment. Keep it simple.
Always.
I feel like we could just continue to drill down into this. Especially Angelique, you said something that kind of brought to mind for me. Oftentimes local business owners will try and find silver bullets or like channel specific solutions, right? And that's like super jargony, but like in marketing, there's different channels, right? SEO, ads, all of that stuff. I like to look at ROM, or return on marketing spend in general. And if you're not doing marketing and your spend is 0, why are you trying to figure out how much money you should spend on Google ads versus Meta ads when you haven't decided that you're going to spend any money at all, right? So I always tell people, it's try and figure out how much you can spend in your business, right? If you're not spending any, then maybe you need to do time and do more of that local stuff. And if you are going to spend some, figure out where you're going to put those dollars. And I promise you, no matter what brand you're in, right? Especially if it's related to CMO peer talks, you're going to have resources to go deeper on that. So I don't know who that helps, but I hope it helps somebody. All right.
No, Matt, I want to go back to that for a second, because you said something that resonated with me now. So like you said, we could talk about this topic forever, but the fact that you're not the same as so-and-so, or your business isn't the same. I think that same goes for when you're looking at success within tactics. You're like, well, how much are they spending? I'm spending this much and I'm not getting the same. And I said, we've created what we call a leads plan calculator that factors in the business location specifics. So what is your slippage on getting estimates out? What is your lead conversion? What is your average job size? So your budget is not going to be the same as someone else's budget when you look at the output and the operational inefficiencies or effectiveness of your location versus someone else's. So I think that's a key in what you were saying is not just looking at a tactic or a silver bullet, but also factoring in the conditions that you can control or that are controllables by location, and how those play into the effectiveness of the marketing strategy.
Totally. Patrick, you want to chime in anything, or you want to go to the next one?
We could keep going on that one. Let's go to the next. We can
All right.
revisit it if we have time.
It's been all day.
So yeah, and at the end, we should just kind of like nerd out, three of us. And so let's kind of get through these here.
Okay, we like that.
So what's actually freed up franchisee time in your experience? And what just sounded good in theory?
You want me to take it?
Angelique.
Okay,
Oh,
good. Andrew.
Yeah, so I think the biggest one for us is like what's freed up your franchisee time. Like they want to say, oh, all this time I'm investing in learning all of the AI best practices and spending time learning like how AI can make my life easier. But it's kind of ironic because you look at the some of the franchisees, not just on our network and other networks, that are spending the most time with learning the technology and how they can leverage the technology, and their businesses are actually down year over year. So I think the smartest thing for us and what sounded good in theory was everybody needs to go out and learn everything they can about AI. Where at Handyman Connection, we have partnered with local partners like Promo Republic and other partnerships that have already done the work and created the processes and systems using and leveraging AI. And we're investing in those relationships to double down to free up their time. So in theory, I think going out and learning everything you can on your own and doing it on your own, yes, it's fun. And yes, it can be empowering. But I think also leveraging the partnerships and leveraging the smarties that have already kind of done some of the hard work is also a good place. So I think, what we thought was going to be if I learn all this AI stuff, I can implement it into my business and it's going to make my life easier. When in reality, I think using and leveraging the partnerships that are leveraging AI in a smart way, as well as empowering yourself, right? There are things that you can do locally that maybe a partner can't do for you that would free up your time for bandwidth. So one of them is going in and listening to our calls and having AI tell us where we're converting more effectively on our phone calls and which of our CSRs maybe needs a little bit more tuning. So that's been something that's been helpful for our system.
go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to say this, but people like to spend time on the things that they're good at, and you
Mhm.
typically enjoy the things that you're good at,
Yeah.
right? So you may have somebody who's got more of a tech background who now is taking that plunge into AI, but there's many other areas of the business that need attention. But it's a nice distraction and it makes people feel good because now they're busy, and being busy feels productive, and being productive feels good, right? Where we know
Yeah.
sometimes you got to focus on things that maybe aren't as enjoyable for you in order to grow the business, or find somebody else who can. But for us, I had some things that are very specific to Zoom Drain that's freed up time. First, about 2.5, 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago, we implemented a system-wide social media calendar. It's very simple, but we didn't have one when I got here. And it clearly outlines what HQ is pushing out on your behalf as a franchisee, the evergreen national content. But then we have placeholders and thought starters for the local franchisees. So we have a national strategy that you implement locally, and you can put your local voice, local images, your team, landmarks, all of those things in there. So it takes the guessing out for our franchisees. They're able to build a strong local social media presence without thinking about it. And they don't have to recreate the wheel when it comes to creative either, because we have Canva system wide. So you don't have to play graphic designer. You don't have to outsource the design. We make it as turnkey as possible. So I think that's helped people really expedite their social media activity and improve what they're putting out there. It's more consistent, more professional, but it still feels local. And then for us, very specifically, we're Service Titan customers, and they've made recent enhancements to Marketing Pro, specifically their autopilot functionality. So it's streamlined the customer nurture process. What used to take a lot of time to manually even build these campaigns that you would set up that were automated. The campaign creation, we're able to do it at Zoom Drain HQ. We build the creative, we build the audiences, the cadence, everything, and we can deploy it system wide. And it still puts local call tracking phone numbers in. Everything feels local to the recipient. But I think that saved our franchise owners a lot of time, just on the customer nurture side of things. And those are email templates, postcard campaigns, SMS campaigns as well. So it's one less thing that the franchisee has to worry about. And then the flip side, what sounded good in theory, I mentioned the AI platform we use. Our owners have the opportunity to find resources, find information, build content through the AI. sounds great in theory. I love the platform personally, but it's been a challenge to get our franchise owners to adapt and adopt. And you know, they're still so used to just putting in a support ticket or reaching out to us directly when they need something instead of going AI. So a little different, Angelique. I know you have owners who are so focused on learning and leveraging AI. In our case, we have a really good AI system in place that I don't feel we've maxed out the capacity. So in theory, it's great, but we're just not seeing the impact yet.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you
Gotcha.
on the centralized automated campaigns because we leverage Jobber. You said you guys were using Service Titan and the same, right? Anything that takes the guesswork out of it for them to have to come up with the messaging and the creative, and that's automated. I think anything automated at this point in time has been a huge time saver for our owners where it may have been a little scary at first, where now they're kind of just like, thank goodness, what else can we automate, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a great add in the nurture campaigns for sure.
And I'll plug Promo Republic. We're early on with Promo Republic, but for us, really taking on more of a consultative approach to building out plans and strategies with our franchise owners. When we do that intake call and we look to build, hey, what's the strategy? What are our goals? What are the next steps? Having the dashboard from Promo Republic, having all of this data and information at my fingertips, it frees up time for my team at HQ, and it takes the guesswork out of it for the franchisees. So we go right to their profile. We're able to clearly identify, you know, where there are gaps, and that helps us all build a more streamlined, impactful campaign or strategy, I should say.
And promo's a really, really powerful tool, and not to beat a dead horse about that, but definitely check it out, guys. If you haven't checked them out, it's really gives you a top level view of your entire system from a marketing perspective. So with that said, I'm gonna go. I think there's two more questions left. So next one, and we're gonna jump back to Angelique for this one. What's a metric you trust for local impact and one you've learned to completely ignore?
Yeah, and it's funny as we were talking about AI a second ago, and we look at, we're moving towards what we call a zero click era, right? So I think the biggest metric or KPI that I ignore now is really like the vanity metrics for impression share and reach, even site visits anymore. We're seeing more conversions and less like page views from a traffic perspective, where they're getting to the information much quicker, whether it's through Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. I think the biggest thing for us is looking at metrics that drive and impact revenue, right? So looking at increased bookings, increased conversion from an execution standpoint on a campaign, more calls turning into appointments. So really looking at revenue building attributes and KPIs. And less at the vanity metrics, right? Whereas the vanity metrics, it mattered before, right? How many people are seeing your site? How many people are getting there? But are the right people seeing the site? And are the right people landing there? And are they actually converting and taking action? So I think actionable activities from campaigns that we run, and less on the vanity metrics, such as like, well, I want to do this magazine. It reaches all the right customers of mine, but are those customers in the market to buy, right? So again, asking the right questions to get us to the right outcome, which would be those success metrics that drive revenue.
I love that. What's your favorite success metric that drives revenue?
I would say for us, it's that we look at ROAS. So we hold
Okay.
our partners accountable to creating ROAS, right? Opportunity for our franchisees to provide a booking or an estimate to a customer. And then we hold our franchisees accountable to the ROI. What happens once we get that qualified customer in that we provided an estimate to? So I think looking and separating ROAS from ROI, what the partner's accountable for and what the location level economics are responsible for, it's helped the owners, like when they look, because we track that now in our success dashboards, ROAS versus ROI. And I know that may not be the traditional way to calculate it, but we hold our partners accountable to viable opportunities, which produce ROAS or an estimate, and then our locations to close that work down and do all the steps necessary to execute on getting the revenue in the door.
Yeah, I literally love that. For anybody in the call who doesn't know what ROAS or RO, everybody knows what ROI stands for. I'm not going to explain that one. ROAS is return on ad spend, right? So what about you, Patrick? How would you answer this question? And then follow it up with what your favorite KPI is specifically.
Yeah, I think I have it all kind of rolled into one, and you're going to hear a similar theme from Angelique's answer. But first thing, if I were talking to franchise owners, I like to distinguish top of funnel marketing efforts from bottom of funnel, right?
Yeah.
People need to know who we are. And to me, that's more of a long-term investment. Um, the lead gen, obviously bottom of the funnel, somebody needs Zoom drain, they have a clog drain, we want them to call us today. So when I look at the top of funnel campaigns, my message to owners is always, be patient and remember brand awareness. It's a rising tide lifts all ships. So you want to set benchmarks. We want to look at organic traffic, direct web traffic, branded search, Google business profile activity, all those indicators that, okay, people are starting to hear about us more. They're becoming more aware of who Zoom Drain is, what we do. And maybe these ads are driving some activity, but brand awareness, not in every case, but in many cases, is hard to track directly. But look at the overall correlation between number of leads, your sales, and when you are running these campaigns or executing these brand awareness activities. So not the exact answer you're looking for, but I think it's such an important piece of it. My background is in TV advertising. So I'm still pretty passionate about the role that those types of campaigns play, but I know that not everybody needs us today. We have to plant those seeds. For the lead gen campaigns, so this is where we're going to talk more about metrics. For me, I really care about the number of quality leads. Strip out all the junk. Did the customer reach out to us with a problem that we can solve? Is it a service we offer, and is it in our service territory? And then I look at the ROI. To me, those are the most important pieces. I don't really care about cost per click. Of course, we want that to not be through the roof, but ultimately I'm looking at the return on the investment. But I think in our case with Zoom Drain, we have CSRs, it's their job to book the job. And then our service technicians, it's their job to sell the job. We don't sell over the phone. So for me, like Angelique, I think this is what you're getting at. I often remind our franchise owners that it's the marketing partner or the vendor's job to deliver the quality leads. What happens from there is our responsibility. So if somebody, let's just say they're complaining about a vendor, and we look and they say, hey, I'm not getting any leads from this. It's not working. I'm wasting all this money. First thing I look at, okay, let's see the number of quality leads that came through. And then once we look at the quality leads, I look at our call booking rate, and then I look at our close rate. So if they delivered the right amount of leads, we got to make sure that we're holding up our end of the bargain and that we're booking the jobs and we're selling the jobs. Because if we're not, there's an operational issue, whether it's on how we're answering the calls or we're not getting out there fast enough, or it's the technician's appearance or his delivery, right? It could be a number of things. We have to identify that operational gap. And if there's a huge difference between the number of quality leads and then our booking rates and our close rates, then there's another issue. It's not a marketing problem. So I know people like to use digital marketing vendors as punching bags, but I'd say, about 50% of the time, it's not actually the vendor. There's an operational issue, which I actually prefer because that's easier to fix. We can identify that very easily. We can fix those operational issues. We can improve them. Sometimes, digital marketing, it's its own beast. It's a little harder to improve something overnight.
Yeah, I kind of want to do a callback to a couple slides ago when you spoke to setting franchisees up with the automations or the exact, like, no thinking, a very specific example. So like, let's say you're getting a qualified lead, your speed to lead should realistically be 0, right? And you should buy your time. You should buy time for you or your team or your setter, whoever's doing that, because that prospect should already be talked to in the form of a text message, an email, and setting that expectation. If you're getting a lead and then waiting until you check your phone that's like the biggest gap right there. Like, that's going to kill your conversion rates. So I just wanted to make that call back before I forgot. But we got one more question and then Q&A. Oh, I lied. So we're jumping right into Q&A. So how are we feeling, guys? If you guys could use there's a little heart emoji, a little react emoji there you guys can use. Also, if you have any questions at all, we are all ears and here to support you guys. Anything that you guys want to dive deep on could be about KPIs, could be about campaigns that are outperforming other campaigns right now. If I don't see any, I'm actually going to ask that one myself. So have you guys seen any form, and we'll talk about paid advertising because I feel like it's so tangible to create leads and stuff at a local level. Have you seen any type of campaign or campaign creative outperforming other types right now?
Yeah, for us, I would say is paying attention to your surroundings. I just right before this call got off the phone with the franchisee, and he was like, "Hey, our leads are down this month," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's back to school time. Their money's not going into their home; it's going into their kids." So he was like, "Well, I'm going to push my offers this month. I'm going to use the same offers I had before." And I said, "Well, why would you do that?" I said, "If there's less discretionary income right now because it's going elsewhere." We need to reduce our offers. So our minimum buy-in was $1,000 project. Now it's a 500. You don't have to give away more, but you have to reduce that buy-in, right? We have to make it make sense. So I think for us, reminding the franchisees that just because it worked last month or last week doesn't mean it's going to work next week or next month. So paying attention to market factors, conditions. One of the things that he brought up, he said, well, too, he goes, can you help me then decide when I spend more money here and when I pull back money there? And I realized, I said, we have that in our training and onboarding, but it's not like a published calendar that I push out to everybody on a regular basis. And to your point, Patrick, of using Easy Assist for you guys to publish and promote the available resources, I think we have to remember that their memory recall is only so much, especially as they're dealing with day-to-day customer and craftsmen and employee challenges, that it's really hard for them to remember those things. And I think giving them the tools that kind of guides them to get to that step. But the biggest thing is, I think, just paying attention to your surroundings and paying attention to what's going on, whether it's an economic factor or a local market condition, maybe whether it's a storm that just hit or something that's impacting your community. There's opportunity to change gears and to change the creative to resonate with whatever's happening in your local market. And I think franchisees forget to do that. They're so used to just being able to push the button, right? That they forget that that one small or minor tweak can mean the difference between, 50 clicks versus 20 or 4 appointments versus zero. So I think that's the biggest thing for us, is reminding them that that customization and localization needs to be tweaked on an ongoing basis. And that's what we're seeing is performing the best, paying attention to your surroundings.
Wow. That's super, super powerful. So I'm in South Florida and we do have seasonality, right? So we think about that a lot. There's literally snowbirds come down and it's the busy season and during the winter months. Summertime always dies down. The data proves it. Impressions, clicks, everything, CPLs are going up, but there's reasons for that. And for that reason, I don't even like to look at data unless it's like a salt 2, 3 months. Really 3 months is what I look at because then I can understand where like that quarter happened. Some people look at stuff like week over week, and I think that really is one of those activities where you're better off going to a local networking event or picking up the phone and calling a customer, see how they're doing, right? Potentially getting a referral. Would you guys agree with that, or am I crazy?
Depends on your business, right? So Patrick's in a sense of urgency business, right? Whereas some of our projects can be sense of urgency, but in Patrick's case, like there's like an instant gratification that needs to happen now. So I think it's different. It's going to be, your answer is going to be different than mine.
Yeah, luckily for Zoom Drain, as long as human beings need to eat and drink to survive, they need drains and sewers, and they will have drain and sewer issues. And so yeah, we are more of an emergency based
Yeah.
service. I mean, there is some seasonality for sure, but not much, right? People are always going to need us, which is a beautiful thing that comes along with this model. But yeah, not a ton of seasonality. I do, I as far as campaigns though, LSA just this month started to
Oof,
migrate
fire.
right into Google Ads, and it's a whole different experience for our franchise owners who've decided to manage those campaigns in-house. We do encourage them to leverage the experts. We have preferred marketing vendors. We'd rather that they work with them directly, but we're keeping an eye on it. I don't have any data yet as far as what's working, what's not, if there are any changes in LSA, but we have an eye on it. But what I am seeing that's somewhat related, we're really focused on kind of the housekeeping. And it seems that every week, listings consistency, Google business activity, review generation, review response times, all of those different items are playing a larger role, right? All these factors are impacting your paid campaigns more. So of course they're impacting the organic visibility, but we're seeing for LSA, for example, it's tied more directly to your Google business profile than it was in years past. So we got to make sure that all the housekeeping's in order and that we're taking care of the basics every day. You know, you're posting to your Google business profile, you're including certain keywords, it's completely filled out, you're generating reviews, you're responding to reviews, you don't have inconsistent phone numbers and addresses across multiple properties, you're posting to social media consistently. All of these things, once we focus on that and the owners do it consistently, we do see an overall increase in paid campaign productivity.
And I think as time progresses and AI gets more advanced, we're going to see that even more, right? Angelique brought up zero-click marketing. It's all, the days of mapping out a customer journey like in a straight line or like saying this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then that is like gone, right? Somebody, to your point, Patrick, you like to look at impressions. They're two separate parts of the funnel, right? Impression marketing, especially from a TV. By the way, you can advertise on Hulu now pretty cheap. I think that's awesome. Have you tried that? I want the answer to that. Have you seen those, like those ad platforms for hyper local TV advertising?
We're piloting connected TV ads right now, about 5 or 6 of our locations through vendor Jamloop, and Hulu is one of the destinations, Disney Plus, YouTube TV, but we're really even focusing on local news networks where people are going directly to these, connected devices. But it's great. There's no ad waste because you're targeting the IP address, and we're doing the similar test on Meta right now as well. So we're only showing the ads to people who matter to us right now.
That's awesome.
More to come. No metrics yet. We just launched it last week.
So I think the rest of that thought was the days of just like trying to map out exactly where your customers are gone. And as AI gets more articulate, like as it gets more prevalent, you're going to need a larger digital footprint, which is kind of, I think, what you were getting at. So you're going to need to make sure that you're posting every day. You're going to need that you make sure you're updating your Google business profile and your website and stuff like that. Also, I think that people are like, oh, like my website doesn't matter because it's 0 clicks. Just because there's 0 clicks doesn't mean that you don't need to focus on your website and increase that digital footprint as well, right? So there's stuff like that. Kate, did any questions come into the chat?
Doesn't look so.
Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? Anything else that you guys want to talk about, or anybody in the audience?
We're focused right now on geo optimization, so kind of the organic side of AI platforms, making sure that Zoom Drain shows up when people are talking to Claude or ChatGPT about drain and sewer problems. So that's something that we've recently engaged in, trying to stay ahead of the curve there, because we know more and more people are turning away from Google and other search platforms and going directly to AI. So it's not just the paid AI campaigns, but really the organic side as well. I think it's going to be a huge piece of any business moving forward.
Well, you said that, and it reminded me of something I wanted to ask you, Patrick. Have you guys leveraged any of the ChatGPT ads or advertising platform that they have now? Because they just made it ultra affordable to everybody else. There's no more of that $250,000 monthly ad spend buy-in. So I was just curious if you guys had tried that or had looked into that platform yet.
No, it's next on the list. So we're
Okay.
working with an agency that's helping us with the organic side, and I was just fortunate enough to make a hire a few weeks ago on my team who's taken on some of these pilots, and now we have some bandwidth. The ChatGPT pilot is coming soon. I'm excited to test it out. Have you tried it out yet?
Not yet, but it's something that we're looking into at this very moment. It was brought up on another roundtable that I'm a part of a couple of weeks ago, and I started looking into it, and I was like, you could actually really easily run it yourself, but the amount of hyper focus targeting that can come from it is super exciting. When you talked about the geo optimization, I look at anything that we can be hyper focused. The other thing for us would be connected mail. I've been paying more attention to it lately because I got a postcard in the mail, and I remember just looking at it. It's for basement. My basement's finished. And the other day I was looking on social, and I'm like, holy cow, that's that company. And I'm like, this is the ads that we're running. This does resonate because I'm not in the mood or in the market for a basement remodeling company, but I guarantee you, I'll remember being a basement remodeling specialist when my friends ask me, like, hey, have you heard any great ones? Because it's coming up everywhere for me. So that's the other one that we're going back to, like some of the basics on is the connected mail, where you're also leveraging in the social strategy and paid strategy in combination, where you're really getting that brand play. So it can be more top of funnel, but it really is hitting me. And even my kids were like, hey, I saw that postcard at the house. So it's kind of ironic how, everybody's paying a little bit more attention, I think, to all of the things and some of the basic stuff.
And that our theme has been back to the basics. So you can't just kick your feet up on the desk and pop quarters into the Google machine and expect
Yeah.
leads to come across, right? There are too many variables that are outside of your control if you're only relying on paid channels. Algorithms change, regulations change, technology changes, but relationships, that's something that you can own. So we've really been focused. I mentioned earlier how we consult with our franchise owners to build local plans. Once we build the plans out, we have a snapshot calendar and we color code it. And we want to have a well-balanced plan. So we make sure that, yeah, we have some paid digital, but also paid traditional. Maybe it's direct mail, like you had mentioned. Then we have community engagement there as well, and networking and business development. And we want to make sure that we're not relying too much upon, any one slice of the pie, and that people see Zoom Drain in the community. They see us on social media. They hear about us from referral partners. Like, I want everywhere they go, I want them to be exposed to us. So, it's also Dan Antonelli from Kick Charge Creative, one of the leading branding agencies out there. Read his book. It's amazing, but he's got a term that I've been using all the time, and it's 5 mile famous. Like, so we're going back to the basics to help our franchise owners become 5 mile famous. Really try to oversaturate one area at a time before you try to go ahead and conquer the whole territory. So if we can make sure that when people do have a drain or sewer problem, that Zoom Drain is the first company that they think of, that they're not, typing in drain cleaning near me, but they're going right to Zoom Drain. But it all comes down to having that well-balanced plan, because that's what builds trust. You have to get out in the community. You have to go knock on doors and shake hands and show up at other people's ribbon cutting ceremonies and go to the BNI events, and you name it. So that's what we've been encouraging. Kind of old school is cool. Don't over rely on any one digital platform. Leverage the old school stuff, and you gotta roll your sleeves up and put some sweat into it.
I love the sweat equity. We had a franchisee call us at 3 o'clock on a Friday and said, I need leads. I'm like worried about Monday. And I said, you better get in your car and go drop some yard signs. Go grab that stack of door hangers that's been sitting in your closet for the last 3 months and go and knock on doors, kiss some babies, shake some hands. I said, and throw some yard signs out. And he did. He went out and threw, and he booked 6 jobs over the course of the weekend from those yard signs. And he was like, those have been sitting in my closet forever. And I'm like, yep, basics.
It
Like,
worked.
things that they don't even have to spend money on other than a little bit of gas, which can be a little expensive right now, but still worth it.
Yeah.
Have you guys ran any fun billboard campaigns recently? Talking about back to the basics? No?
No, we don't have the saturation, I think, market perspective to run like billboards, but from a branding perspective, it's not something that we've done historically.
Okay.
We've had a
Yeah,
few locations on billboards, but it's not something we encourage, especially early on, just because of the
Yeah.
cost. And we know it's a long-term play. That's why we've been, in this case, this is where I would rather leverage digital, because there's less ad waste, right? So that's why we're testing the meta brand awareness campaigns and the connected TV, instead of going the billboard route. Although in some of the more rural markets, you could get a great deal, So I never say never. If somebody comes with an opportunity, asks me what I think, let's look at the numbers and see if it makes sense. But it's something we don't encourage on. Big fan of it down the road, but nothing super exciting. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. No, so in my market, I can't remember the name of the brand, but I'm sure if I Googled it, they have like the Your Wife is Hot billboards, and they're like an AC brand. And it's just like but it's interesting because other brands like in the AC niche they tried to copy it, and it's like I'm just like, oh, they're just copying the other guys, right? So so I was curious if you guys have ran anything interesting like that. But but yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, the marketing is just one of those worlds, which is why I love it, where there's no right or wrong answers, right? The answer is always it depends, right? What's your saturation? How many, how much is the spend? How much does that cost? What's the goals here? So, with that said, uh, is there any other questions from the audience? I don't think we've gotten one question from the audience. So I would really like to answer at least one. If I have to call names, I will. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to actually call any names, but I really do hope that you guys have enjoyed this. We are 9 minutes till. So if there's no other questions, I think we can give everybody 9 minutes back in their day. And I don't ever get complaints about that. So um, I'm gonna do the auction thing. Going once, going twice. All right. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'll stay on until the last person leaves, so you guys can all pop off as that goes. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm gonna pull up this the second slide here. You can scan this, get connected with Promo Republic. Make sure that you connect with us on CMO Peer Talks on LinkedIn, and keep an eye out for our in-person events. Those are a lot of fun. We do live sessions just like this, except in person. And like I said, we give out the best swag. I think I have like socks from like 3 or 4 years ago that I still wear to this day because they're just like these cool socks that we got. So um people are popping off now. And yeah. Kate, do you want to end or
think it's all good. Thank you very much, guys, for a very insightful conversation.
Thanks, Matt. You're a great co-host. Thanks to Promo Republic for putting this event on. And Patrick, we need to connect.
Yes.
Love your key takes on things and would love to connect further. So
Yeah,
thanks so
likewise.
much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
bye guys?
Everyone, see you.
Bye, Patrick.